So I've just been actually given one of the most interesting compliments I've ever had. Welcome to Depth of Field. I'm Eric, and I've been told that I have Jason Bateman hair. I don't know what that means. My guest today, this is a special episode because I've had old friends, I've had new friends, I've had strangers that I've never met before, but this time my guest is someone that I've known since nursery, since we were 4 or 5 years old. This is going to be an interesting show because sometimes we come to blows, sometimes we laugh a lot, sometimes, well, I've never quite been able to shake him. But his name is Stu. I like to call him Dr. Ralph Stuman.
Thank you.
And Stu is a very interesting guy because he's a talent agent, comedy agent, and he was a guest, or he was a judge expert on the panel. What was it called? The Wall?
I was part of the Wall of the World on CBS's The World's Best.
And when you called me and told me you were going to be on the show, I said, no fucking way.
Believe me, I was just as shocked as you were, you know?
What was the show? It was Mark Burnett produced.
Yes, it was Mark Burnett and Mike Darnell. And basically they had, James Corden was a host, who was just nominated for an Emmy for our show.
For that show?
For that show,
nice.
Absolutely.
Well, were you nominated?
I was not. Smartly, they didn't give me much screen time on the show. But yeah, so we had, RuPaul was one of the judges who also is, weirdly enough, nominated for an Emmy as well, along with James Corden.
For that show?
For RuPaul's Drag Race.
Okay, yeah.
And I kind of feel like James Corden, just by the fact that he was a host, he was a host on our show, and RuPaul was a judge, automatically makes him the favorite over RuPaul, at least.
Oh, they're competing
They're
against
competing, exactly, So yeah, so RuPaul was on there, Drew Barrymore, who
was your crush.
Yeah, literally when I was 8 years old, 7, 8 years old was when E.T. came out, and for me, E.T. was what made me absolutely fall in love with movies. So, and I was able to tell that to her, and she was super, super sweet. She was definitely the person, we all fell in love with on the show the best.
And who was the other one?
Faith Hill. Faith Hill.
Yeah. Anything to say about Faith Hill?
Faith, I'm not a huge country. It was one of those things we didn't have, much in common, I'm sure. So it's one of those things. And I'm a huge Johnny Cash, Willie Nelson fan. And so
you're more of an outlaw guy.
Exactly. I don't go past 1956 for my, my country music and everything. So. Yeah, so it was great, so she was on the show, and it was a total blast. I'm someone who never in a million years thought I was ever going to be on television, never aspired to.
Well, you just said that this is your first time being interviewed.
Yeah, no, literally, I was telling them before that, I got in trouble one time when I, lit a match somewhere, and I got put in the newspaper when I was 12. So that was.
Stu set fire to our school. just for the record.
Just for the record.
You guys went to St. George's, right? Stu set fire to St. George's.
Okay, this is who we're talking to. A, it was Solomon Schechter.
Oh, that's right. It was Solomon Schechter.
And B, it was the toilet bowl that a match went out in 3 seconds, and
they did call the fire department.
No, the smoke alarm went off in a school, and therefore the fire department had to come. So, okay. Yeah. So
wait, hold on.
Okay,
because there's a couple of comments. Irvana says, "Woot, the hype is real," and Emerald 97 says, "Sup, Bradley Cooper." Thank you. That's because not now. I have a new one. It's either Seth Rogen, Bradley Cooper, or Jason Bateman.
No, it's Jason Bateman hair.
Right.
Exactly. If you've seen Jason Bateman's hair, it's magnificent.
The Emerald also says Faith Hill is amazing. My mom played her in a movie. Music when I was a little kid. My mom played her music when I was a little kid.
I love that delay there. It's like my mom played her and died of cancer. I love this girl.
I should tell you guys.
Great job on the producing there, guys.
I was about to say keep the comments coming, but already you guys are on it, so that's good. So yeah, we have people watching this thing.
I can't believe that's unbelievable. Like I said, I can't believe anybody is interested in watching me. I'm more interested in finding out what you've been up to. You're much more exciting than me. So.
Well, yeah, but no, because I want to know a little bit more about the world's best. And also, okay, so there's a couple things. We're going to get to some of the people you represent because this show on Twitch is video games and geek culture and superheroes. And you represented Batman himself, Adam West and Robin
Burt Ward, absolutely.
Yeah.
Julie Newmar as well.
Right.
So it's one of those things where I come from the stand-up comedy world, and the company I'm with right now, KMR, they there was a gentleman by the name of Fred Westbrook, who's a very well-known talent agent, or was, and he passed away 3 years ago. And he used to represent those guys. He used to represent Chuck Woolery, a lot of the so Chuck Woolery. I got to deal with Bob Eubanks all the time. So these guys, absolutely. You know, so it's fun to deal with these guys. So, like I said, you're talking about the geek culture and everything. So yeah, so Adam, I kind of did the last deal he ever did for this like weird little thing.
What was it?
It was this video. It was a Family Guy tie-in thing where we were in the studio with Ralph Garman, him, and the guy who plays with the dad on Family Guy. What's his name? Peter Griffin. Peter, the guy who plays Peter and everything on the show as well.
Well, isn't that Seth Macfarlane?
No. He's a impersonator.
Oh, okay.
You've never seen this guy?
No.
Oh, you've got to look at it. See if you can look it up.
Oh wait, I think I have on YouTube.
He's brilliant. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So it was these three guys in like at a studio, and it was this really cool thing that we were able to do. And then unfortunately, sadly, he kind of passed and everything. But it was so great to work with a guy. I mean, growing up as a kid, watching Batman, in the 1960s, Batman in the 70s, it was such a treat for us and everything.
Can we see the photo of Stu with Adam West? We'll get that in a second, and then might as well put Stu with Burt Ward as well.
Perfect, thank you. No, and then we were talking about obviously geek culture and everything. Your show. We'll mention your T-shirt later if you want.
Oh yeah, Pickle Rick.
Sure,
yeah,
absolutely.
We'll get to that. A million things to talk about. First of all, I'm going to do a shameless plug because speaking of geek culture, this past week or currently going on in Montreal is the Fantasia Film Festival, as well as the Just for Laughs Festival. And the Fantasia people were nice enough to set up a bunch of interviews for us. With the directors of some really cool movies. There was one called Killer Man, which is stars Liam Hemsworth, and it's like a gritty crime drama. There was another movie called The Wretched by the Pierce brothers, and these guys, their dad was the special effects guy for Sam Raimi.
Oh, very cool. That's awesome.
And so they grew up around that, and they made this crazy witch movie. And then the last one was just so fucked up. It's a movie called Aqua Slash, and it's basically. It's a slasher film mixed with screwball comedy.
Yeah.
And the slasher's playground, if you will, is it's a water park. It's a water slide. And he basically puts these like razor sharp razors into the tunnel.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
And it was.
So what's the festival called? The
Fantasia.
Fantasia, because I remember when I was back at the Plant, I was writing journal.
The Plant being
that Dawson was the newspaper, the journal, the newspaper we wrote for at the school and everything. And me and a guy, Pierre, I forget his last name, we covered the festival back like 25 years ago. There's a thing called Singapore Sling, I'll never forget. And it's just, these great, really cool movies. And I mean,
it's grown a lot now. So it used to be very specifically like Asian genre films.
Sure.
And now it's anything that doesn't fit in to a mainstream film festival or to like a hoity-toity film festival.
Absolutely.
And so we're gonna run our Fantasia special. We're just gonna, the three interviews. We'll do what we did last time where we had Jesse Eisenberg. So Jillian and myself will be sitting on the couch and we'll throw to the interviews. And so that's coming up in the next couple of weeks if you guys are into Fantasia. Let's get back to Wall of the Wall of the World.
Yeah, CBS's World's Best. I was a member of the Wall of the World. So there were 50 judges from 25 were international guys who were based out of the United States, and then there was about 25 of us who were international acts who were living in LA at the time.
25, half the people were from the States?
Half of them were international acts like myself, who were local hires, basically, who they were saying, hey,
I see. Okay, we're going to bring you in from New Zealand, whereas you're an expat.
It's a lot cheaper to put me up in my own home in LA and not and not have to, And again, I mean, they put these guys up at these beautiful places. And gave them a per diem and everything. So the cost involved with that, versus so I'm sure they were like, hey, you know what? If we can get a few guys who are just going to be in the background, anyways, let's make them.
So how much time did you get? Because let's explain. You were there to be the comedy or one of the comedy experts because there was a bunch of different categories.
Yeah, I guess I can tell you how it came about and everything is. I work at a talent agency, like I said, KMR, and one of the agents there, Jamie Hernandez, got an email from one of her casting people and sent it out saying they're looking for experts in all these different fields and they need to be international experts and like music, comedy, sort of the arts and everything. and they need to be local hires here in LA, and they're looking for people soon. And I'm kind of like, well, I've been working in the comedy world for 25 years almost at this point. I feel like I know,
Oh, so they were looking for the people that you represent?
No. They weren't looking for comedians. They were looking
Okay.
for judges. They were looking for people who were experts in their field. And I was kind of like, well, I know as much about comedy as anybody. And almost as a joke, I was kind of like I can't wait to see whoever they're going to get instead of me, because I promise you I know more about comedy than that guy. No, 100%. There's no doubt about that. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to submit it as a joke, see what happens. And sure enough, they wound up calling me, and, when we did it, we didn't realize we were going to be so much in the background, And I mean, it was still the most unbelievable experience, but it was one of those things where when we first got it, we were definitely like, oh, we're going to be on television, and we're going to, So I thought I was going to be not necessarily the next Simon Cowell, but there was definitely a lot more, excitement when I first, got the call that I was going to be a judge on television. And then when you do it and you find out you're one of 50 guys in the background, which, by the way, is deserved. I should not be anywhere close to,
Clearly. Do we have the Stu waving a flag and the photo and the flag video? It's like 4 seconds.
I'm about to put up the shot of me with Adam West.
Oh, okay, so here comes Stu and Adam West.
Perfect.
And then we'll get back to. So what's Adam West like?
The nicest guy. I mean, it's one of those things you always hear, like, you never want to meet your idols, you never want to meet those people. And I think he just had been doing this so long that he knows how to be the perfect person as far as I know everyone loves, so it's one of those things. He's just so gracious and everything, the nicest guy, absolutely. And I guess, like I said, it's just, I'm sure, there were times, in the 60s and 70s that he was like, hey, I don't necessarily need all this attention, blah, 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 where, I think he became such an icon that it was like, there's no way you can't be such a great guy anymore,
Do you think at a Comic-Con, for example, we just had Comic-Con here in Montreal, William Shatner was there. I mean, being a Montrealer, that's
sure,
not such a stretch. But I wonder who would be a bigger draw. Like, I wonder if, between Adam, I feel that those two are pretty much like...
Those two guys, I mean, I sort of, the Comic-Con world's a little bit newer to me, but it's kind of like those were the two pillars that I was always kind of under the impression were Adam and, William Shatner.
And I always loved that SNL sketch where Shatner was at one of these...
the Comic-Con thing.
And he's like,
don't you guys
get a life, people.
Absolutely. But again, it's one of those things. It's like, at some point you realize, wow, I'm so lucky to be that, I mean, who in the world would not want to be Adam West? Have you ever met somebody who's like, I'd rather change my life with, a guy like Adam West?
There are some celebrities who don't like fame or who seem uncomfortable with the reverence. I mean, I agree with you.
Sure.
Like, if you go into it, you got to go into it with your eyes open and knowing that if you really become famous, then the interesting thing is, because if you really become famous, you may run into that kind of situation where you're just hounded all the time, right? The worst part, though, is I think if you get used to that, and then if it's a quick way up, it's a fast way down. And I think of the people who, for some reason, what just sprang to mind was Twilight. Sure. And I'm just thinking of like the whoever played the werewolf. Like, I forget what his name was, but
Jacob Lautner.
Yes, exactly. Like, it probably isn't. I'm sure he's doing a lot of Comic-Cons and doing okay. But I just mean, when you're on top of the world, there's nowhere to go but down.
Sure. Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. I'm sure.
So unless you're Adam West, unless you're smart about it, and you can kind of karate it and use its weight against the negativity.
Yeah, I mean, listen, at the end of the day, there are guys who are able to go out, do it for 50, 60, 70, 80 years. I mean, those are very few and far between. It is one of those things where, there's a peak to a career and then there's, a downfall to a career. So. Can
you shift to your left a little bit?
Oh, sure.
Absolutely. That's what they're saying in the chat.
This way.
Is that good, guys?
Perfect.
All right.
Lean more.
So Comic-Con was crazy for me because I got to interview
Lou Ferrigno, absolutely. Another guy we work with a little bit, we've done some work with in the past and everything.
He was so gracious and such a nice guy, but he's hard of hearing. And just as we were going to, so I was on stage with him and conducting the interview, and then when people were asking questions, there's a lot of lip reading going on.
Sure.
And so when they're that far away, I had to translate everyone's question. And so that was a little bit stressful for me. I was like not expecting, didn't realize that would be something that I would have to kind of concentrate on. See you later, Ben.
Oh, look at that. Like, we're a smooth sailing ship and everything. He's just taking off?
He's just taking off, yeah.
Nice.
Now Julian is alone manning the boards. So, yeah, it was, to me, it was the coolest thing ever to meet the Hulk.
Oh, no, I can imagine. I mean, like I said, meeting Adam West, it was absolutely one of the, the coolest experiences.
Can I tell the Thriller story now?
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
So Stu and I, like I said, we've known each other for a very long time, since nursery. And at my whatever birthday would have been when Thriller was out. So
probably 8 or 9.
Yeah, because that came out in '83.
Yeah,
so
I think, 82, 83.
Yeah. So and Friday Night Videos used to play videos. This is you guys. You don't even know who.
They don't even watch TV
exactly.
anymore. They don't even.
Well, this
what's
is not
the
on TV.
television?
This is on Twitch. But there was.
No, but I'm saying when you mention a TV show, they're like,
yeah, exactly.
Television. And I guess it's weird because you mentioned that thing where like this is on Twitch and everything. Like I do these conferences where I see college kids all the time and everything, and they're like, oh, I don't watch television. I watch television. I'm like, Netflix to us is still television. If you're watching something like, and like they don't comprehend that if I'm watching The Office on Netflix, they'll sit there and say, oh, I don't watch television. You're watching The Office on Netflix. That's television.
Right.
But they sit there and go, oh, I don't watch television. Like.
Oh, as if it's a badge of honor.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Like, yeah, I don't watch television. We don't have the TV. Like they don't understand that you're watching. It's like, no,
you're on your phone.
Exactly. You're watching it on your phone. They don't understand that's television. To us.
Well, what's sometimes frustrating is that if I'm watching a screener for a movie that I have to review or something like that, and they send it to me, my only option is to watch it on my phone or on my computer. And I was like, I want to watch it on TV and I can't. I guess there's plugs.
All right. So speaking of the stories we can tell, Eric and I have known each other, like I said, for
all this
time.
Am I about to get embarrassed?
Oh, not a little embarrassed, but you were just talking about your watching the movie watching experience, and again. When we were watching movies together, you can see Eric's got glasses now. I've had glasses all my life. Eric refused to put on glasses until he was in his mid-20s, so he would start watching these screeners and not be able to watch what was going on the screen, and I'd have to explain, oh, you missed that guy on the movie and everything. 100%.
All right, so my story is that when Thriller came out, the Michael Jackson video, we taped it on a VCR. That's an old machine where you record
No, did
things.
we watch it live? I think we
No. My parents had taped it the night before, and then we watched Thriller, and I'm sure all of you are at least aware of the Thriller video and the zombies and all that. And Stu, 8 years old, and it was my birthday party, and we all watched it, and then Stu had his hands over his eyes like this, and we said, Stu, are you afraid? And he says, no, I've got chicken pox. I'm scratching my chicken pox. Yeah, that's my story. Okay, so
that's great. So at 8 years old, I was scared of watching the Thriller movie at midnight.
Yeah. Should we talk about Michael Jackson?
Of course, absolutely. Michael Jackson's fair game, absolutely. I've got nothing.
All right. What's your take? Can you separate the artist from, or Bill Cosby for that matter, or can you separate the artist from the art from the artist? And is it a situational thing? Is it not? Is it okay to like Michael Jackson, but Bill Cosby is off limits? Where do we set the standards here?
You can't say there's one rule for everybody to decide everything. You're entitled to your opinions on what you feel on these people. People are entitled. So again, it's like obviously we all want to condemn Bill Cosby for what he's done, and then you go gradually down the line, and then some guy punched a lady in a supermarket. Going on down the line more and more until at what point are your senses? Well, if I smoke a joint, well, there's some people who don't, who find that offensive or something. So it's one of those things. So it's hard to say, what level it is. Obviously, a guy like Bill Cosby, we're not trying to defend by any means.
No, I have a great question for you.
Sure.
So I had the chance to see the Aziz Ansari, not the next Netflix special, but he did a live show in Montreal recently.
Sure.
And it was so self-aware. Like I found the whole set really hilarious, very truth-telling, and I love the fact that he would talk about how a script that he had 20 years ago would have been no problem, but if he was handed a script like that today,
Sure.
He would be like, no, I can't touch this with a 10-foot pole. I'm wondering if you've seen, because apparently that routine that he did is what's on his new special.
Sure.
And I'm wondering, in the comedy scene, how is I'm so interested to know how people view him, because I thought he was almost written off, and he's taken the power back in a really interesting way.
We're talking just about Aziz right now, or
Yeah.
again, I don't know the whole story with him, so I don't want to be like, oh, I know this happened. And, I've heard stories. I didn't read the whole article, so I can't even comment properly on that. But I think it was one of those things, from my perspective, where, obviously with Bill and Louis and some of these other guys, there were things where people were really upset about. I think with him, in the context of everything else that was going on, at some point people said, hey, did he cross the line, or when did this just become a really bad date type of thing? So,
But what I'm curious about, more so than that situation, is how he's handling it. Like, have you seen his special? Are people talking about it? Because it really is like him addressing not what he did, but the.
But it's weird. It's not like, I'm sure comedians have their own conversations, but it's not like I'm sitting there talking to my peers necessarily about this is what we all think about Aziz, or this is what we all think about these guys. So it's not about what we think; it's about what audiences think,
Right.
ultimately. So
So do you think he's finding redemption? Like, do you think it's?
I haven't seen his special, so I don't know enough to comment on the situation to be like, this is a situation. But I would say this is that whatever happened. He's admitted this is what happened, and things have moved on. So I don't know enough about it to be like, oh, what, he did this right or wrong, or I didn't see the special. So it's really hard for me to comment on.
We do have a comment, though, from Iravana, who says, I feel one must be able to separate an artist's performance from the artist's life. Horrible people can do wonderful things and still be horrible people. That's true. Yeah. I mean, not.
No, but it's still, it definitely affects me as far as, I can't listen to Michael Jackson the same way I did before, So definitely, yes, I disagree with that. Absolutely, it's like, listen, you know what? If you are an artist and you put out something that people like, listen, I was a huge Woody Allen fan, and then all these stories happen afterwards. So then you start viewing him in a different perspective. So I think again, I can't say I love Woody Allen the way I did as a kid, because I have a different perspective now. So it's a shame, because he was somebody, like I said, I absolutely did love, but it's.
And have you seen his latest movies?
Yeah, I've seen a few of them and everything, and again, I appreciate him as an artist, but I'm curious to see, what his films are. But again, it's one of those things where, I was a huge Woody Allen fan from, his movies from the 70s, and it's like, Broadway Danny Rose is absolutely my favorite movie. And, that's a movie from the 80s. So, it's kind of like the last 20 years, there have been a few movies, obviously, Midnight in Paris and a few other great movies that he's done, but
Match Point, that was pretty interesting.
Wasn't my favorite. Again, I like the comedy stuff.
Yeah.
So it's like, Sweet and Low Down was absolutely one of my favorite,
Yeah. I talked about that on this show recently.
Oh, that's great. Small Time Crooks was another one of his, later films that I loved and everything. But again, it's one of those things where you so much wish you can say, this is the greatest guy, blah, blah, blah. And, you can't anymore. There's certain something.
Well, it's a minefield, that's for sure.
Yeah, and again, but that's my perspective in it. Again, I'm not going to say you have to believe what you have to believe. If she believes that, that's fine. But my perspective is you can separate,
Let me ask you this. We're talking movies. You mentioned Broadway Danny Rose, your favorite movie of all time.
That and A Serious Man. We were talking about those two.
Okay,
Yeah.
So A Serious Man, Coen Brothers.
Sure.
I think we watched it together. That's what Stu was my roommate too. Did we not watch
Serious
that?
Man came out way later. We watched with Rob. We watched Barton Fink together.
Oh no, that's one of my favorites. But I seem to recall watching when we lived on Aylmer. Anyways.
No, A Serious Man came out like 10 years ago.
Okay, so A Serious Man, that was such a fantastic movie. But what I found interesting is when I asked you about favorite scenes, one that you sent me was the opening scene from A Serious Man, which is kind of like, it's a prologue. I kind of call it a prologue, but it almost seems disconnected from the movie until afterwards when you think about that. But remind me what that first scene is, basically.
So the first scene, they set it up where, I don't know, are people watching this clip online? Are they watching it, or are they just listening to me trying to explain?
Yeah, basically.
I apologize in advance. Yeah, run the clip here. All right, so basically it's set up where it's set in 1800s pretty much in an old shtetl in, somewhere in Eastern Europe. And an old, Jewish guy's walking home, and he gets home and he sees his wife, and he tells his wife, I just ran into Rabbi, I forget his last name, blah, blah, blah. And she says, what are you doing? Then Rabbi died 3 years ago. He's like, what do you mean? I just saw him. He helped me out. He's coming over for dinner. Sure enough, there's a knock on the door. The rabbi walks in the room. And the wife is like, this is a W, I don't know.
Oh, like a spirit.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And the husband's like, what do you mean? He's living, breathing, blah, blah, blah. So the wife takes an ice pick and stabs the guy in the heart.
Right, yeah.
And the guy's like, I can't believe you did this, blah, blah, blah. And at first, nothing happens to the guy. So you think the wife was right. And then you see, blood start pooling on his shirt. And then he walks out into the snow. And then it's, what have you done? You've cursed us, blah, blah, blah. And then cut to 1960s Minnesota.
And can we explain what that has to do with anything without spoiling it?
Yeah, we can. I mean, again, well, who cares if we spoil it? I don't care if
I guess so, it's
it.
true.
Yeah,
It's not Avengers.
The movie came out 12 years ago. You're a serious man. If you're worried about getting spoiled, my Lord.
Okay, so yeah, what significance? Because it's been a long time that I hadn't seen it,
Sure.
but I remember being kind of thrown by that opening scene and
Sure.
then putting it all together. So remind me what it has to do with the film itself.
Well, it's interesting. There's a couple takes, I think. I've read a few different articles. One of them of, the Coen brothers were talking about the movie, where obviously it's a very Jewish film, and they use that opening scene to really be like, this is a Jewish film, as opposed to setting in the 1960s, where it's like, oh, this is a movie about the 1960s. It just happens to be about a Jewish family. So that
It was
an
their
article
upbringing in Baltimore.
in
kind of.
Minnesota. Minnesota.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, you should know they're Minnesota. Yeah. Fargo, Minnesota, yeah. So it's one of those things where, we're talking about
The significance of that.
Yeah, so it's one of the. So they were, like I said, they were talking about an article how it was about. We want people to really understand this is about the 1980, about the Jewish identity, the Jewish experience, and everything. And so for me, what I think they were saying is one thing, and then other people kind of felt that it was a prologue to this is a cursed family, and that the people in the 1960s, Michael Schulberg's family and everything, they are the descendants of these people. And the Coen brothers, I don't think that wasn't necessarily the case that they were trying to do. I think they were just trying to, like I said, establish a mood for the type of film and everything. And what I love about it, though, is that ultimately it really is, that's the whole thing. We try and understand what is the meaning of it. And the whole point of the movie is, just, embrace the mystery,
Which is hard to do when, in terms of the Jewish identity, so much of the identity is to understand things.
Absolutely, of course,
Yeah,
of course.
but Coen brothers, I remember interviewing them for No Country for Old Men, and I'm a huge Coen brothers fan, and I was nervous, and I don't get nervous about interviewing people. Well, maybe you, but that's a different story. And I was nervous, and it was a junket interview, and it was in Cannes. It was in this beautiful hotel room.
Oh, wow.
And I only had like 3 or 4 minutes, and so I had to make the best of it. And I'd seen the premiere of No Country for Old Men the night before, and I remember trying to come up with a question that's really going to kind of set me apart.
Yeah.
And it was something along the lines of, I feel that, everyone in this movie has a southern drawl or an accent, but it's almost as if the filmic language, the cinematic language that you're using, those long, drawn-out shots, has a drawl all of its own. And they just kind of looked at me and said, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
It's like...
Yeah, I mean, again, it's one of those things where, the South is, the South is considered obviously, Florida and Georgia and all of that area, where, Texas is, well, it's South. It's a different, so I think that might have been something that, might have thrown them a little, I don't know.
Could be, but I think the point is I really tried to impress them, and they shot me right down.
I can't imagine that they're easy guys to impress.
No, exactly. That's right.
Exactly, and that's the thing. It's one of those things where sometimes, some of the people like I get to meet with in the comedy world, it's like you want to crack a dumb joke, and you're like, oh, this guy knows Eddie Murphy, and it's like literally like, what am I going to tell him that he hasn't heard by from some of these other great people and everything.
Well, I got to give you credit. Years ago, you were telling me, constantly telling me who the people to watch were, who was going to make a big splash in the comedy world, and there were 2 names. One of them did, and has since gone into a little bit of hiding, but one of them was Louis C.K.
Okay.
And I mean, flashback 2 years ago, and he was the biggest comedian in the world. The other was Andy Kindler, who still I don't think has become a household name by any stretch, but is still the comedian's comedian, right?
Yeah, I mean, Andy has been doing he's here again at the festival every year. Actually, I don't know if you're going to come after to the show, but I'm going to go see his alternative show tonight at midnight. So plug for Andy Kindler's show if anybody's watching. I'm going to be going there at midnight. It should be a great show. Hopefully you come as well. And yeah, he does the State of the Industry address every year. He's been on television. He was a series regular on Everybody Loves Raymond or recurring on Raymond. So he's just one of those guys who, again, unfortunately, he's not for everybody, but we're fortunate to be able to have him in our lives, I feel.
Who do you think are the most exciting, regardless of who you represent or anything like that? And let's, think about names that are either almost household, like don't give me the new faces. Who do you think is the really the people? Who is the Louis C.K. of right now?
There's a girl, a lady by the name of Sam J, who is going to be, I think, the next big thing.
Okay.
Yeah, she's, I think, writing on SNL now. She was a new face here a couple years ago. She's doing a couple of showcases here as well.
Here being Just for Laughs.
Here being the Just for Laughs festival as well. And she is one of these people I try to explain, African-American lesbian, a little bit old, not old, I mean in her 30s. She started a little bit older, a little bit heavier set. And this is how much comedy has changed in the last 20 years, where 20 years ago, if I'd seen someone like that, everyone in the room would have been like, she's great, no one's gonna ever put her on television, where now it's like, as soon as you see her, everyone in the room's like, she's gonna have her own TV show now. It's one of those things, it seems really obvious. And again, I mean, she deserves it. She's absolutely brilliant. I recommend anybody check her out.
Who's the Nigerian, she was here last year, I think, as well. Nigerian woman.
Gina Yashere.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
She seems like she's on a pretty good trajectory as well.
Yeah, her new show got picked up by CBS, Bob Hart's Abishola.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. You didn't? Yeah.
Wait a minute. I just realized we got to talk about our favorite Finnish comedian.
Ismo.
Ismo. Yeah. Anyways,
He's your favorite.
He's my favorite. Yeah, exactly. I remember discovering him at the festival. There's some big names. Who are you excited to see this year?
It's interesting. There are a lot of great names. It's one of those things for me. I'm not here to see the galas, so I'm not here to see the big names necessarily. So for me, they're guys who, I've known for a long time that I love. Ron Funches is a guy I absolutely love. He's a great comic. A lot of these guys are friends, people I've known for years. Best Stelling's a comic I saw around town.
Who?
Best Stelling.
Okay. His name is Best?
Beth.
Oh, Beth
Beth
Stelling.
Stelling.
I understood Best Stelling.
Best Stelling.
That's a great name.
She is the best Stelling by far. Of all the Stellings, she is by far the best Stelling. Yeah, so Bobby Lee is a guy I'm a big fan of as well. So there are a lot of great comics. It's one of those things. But it's the great thing about the festival is you always find guys who you think and then you see him do a set and you're like, wow, that guy blew me away. So I remember last year I was here at the festival. Todd Glass is a comic who I've known for 20, I've known about for 20 years. Everyone kind of, in LA is known as a really great comic, but I've never actually, because I always saw him in LA, I always saw him do 5-10 minute sets, and I had a chance to see him do an hour show, and it really just changed my perspective on, who he is and everything.
Okay. Let me ask you something, Julian. As far as clips, so we've seen Burt Ward and Batman now, yeah. Can we see the one of the movie clips? Let's do Airplane. I want to talk about, because we're talking comedy here. I think both you and I agree. Is ready?
I don't think Airplane was the one we couldn't find.
Oh, we couldn't find it. All right.
I have that Strange Fruit.
What's that? Strange Fruit. Okay. Let's still talk about Airplane.
Absolutely, go for it.
I think that's something that you and I agree might be the funniest movie of all time. When I was a kid, it was so funny to me as a kid. It's still so funny to me now. The Zucker brothers.
Yeah.
Are they also the ones who did the Kentucky Fried Movie?
They did. I'll tell that Kentucky Fried story. Well, let's talk about. We'll start with we'll do the Airplane thing again. Okay. Totally agree. Airplane to me was absolutely the funniest comedy of all time.
What makes it so funny?
For me, it's got the most jokes joke, just everything, joke. And again, you have to take it into this perspective. Well, when we start as a kid, and it's one of those things because when you see it as a kid, as an 8-year-old, you get 50% of the jokes.
Right.
And between the ages of 8 and the ages of 18, you start to get all the other jokes that you necessarily didn't get, all those times. And then you see it so many, so there's so many hidden references where you watch it again and again. So it literally is every single 30 seconds, there's another joke. So again, they're not all perfect, but almost all of them are. And
Airplane 2?
suffers from sequel sin. Unfortunately, it's one of those things. I think they said, we're going to make a quick buck off of this, and, let's get William Shatner,
Oh, that's right. Well,
all right, so Kentucky Fried Movie. All right, so this is a fun.
Hold on. Urbana says, excuse me, I speak jive. Again, one of those scenes where I love it, and I still love it, but you couldn't put that in a movie today. I mean, you should be able to, but it would a scene like that would draw a lot of ire, I think.
I don't know. I think it depends on the type of film. I mean, again, it's one of those things where there's so many different outlets now where you can do so many different things. I mean, as far as much, no. I mean, you look at Kevin Hart and those guys. I mean, they've done some pretty crazy, wild stuff in their movies, stuff like that. So I don't know that there's anything. Like I said, I think you have to be that level of a guy where you're like a guy like a Kevin Hart or a bigger name who can get away with doing something great. And not that he's done something, but I'm just saying it's one of those things.
Smack 'em, yak 'em.
Exactly. I mean, there's so many great things. So I absolutely think there's so much great comedy being produced. And I know as much as there is some degree of censorship, I think there's so many different outlets to express your creative freedom as well, which is great. So
tell me about Kentucky Fried Movie.
All right, so this is a story of, again, just because we were bringing up, this is when I was 8 or 9 years old. Again, at the same time, me and Eric and our friends, we were up north, which was where we were before with your friends. This is what we did when we were kids. We would have parties up north. Up
north being like at the cabin.
Exactly. It was basically punishment. We would have to go up north and be surrounded by cold and snow and trees. But so basically,
we're a real nature boy.
Yeah, but we're stuck inside. No, I just hate the cold. So we're stuck inside, and we rent a movie, and we go to the video store, and it was actually my sister, like, I heard this movie was really funny, Kentucky Fried Movie.
And I loved Kentucky Fried Chicken, so
exactly,
why not?
Literally, really, exactly. We don't know anything. So we put it in the thing, and I remember watching it, and literally the first or second scene in the movie is, the Catholic school girls sorority thing where it's just, nonstop boo, like just a ridiculous, obscene amount of, intentional.
Pressed up against, I just remember the shower scene.
Exactly. Every kid who ever saw that movie remember that movie. And
yeah, that's right. Urbana says Kentucky Fried Movie. That was one of those softcore comedies.
Absolutely. And it was one of those things. What happened was, my mom and dad were upstairs, and she's like, there's 12 kids, 10 years old downstairs. And normally you got to hear like tearing shit up, breaking things up. My parents are like, it is dead silent downstairs. So they're like, what the hell is going on? So they came down and literally they see like what's going on. So they turned it off, and we wound up seeing the Cisco Kid instead.
Oh my God, I think I remember that. Hold on, I'm seeing, is the mic, are we getting any grushing sound with the mic, or it's okay?
No one's listening to me anyways.
Let me fix your mic, it's okay.
Look at that, what a good guy.
This is how we do. All right.
Thank you, professional television.
You know how to flip it around?
There we go.
How's that?
Perfect.
Better?
That'll do for now, yeah.
All right,
Perfect,
cool.
there we go. I'll speak loud. Do I need to enunciate? Should I speak louder?
You can't enunciate.
That's true. Mush mouth.
Stu Ralphman.
Dr. Stu Ralphman, yeah.
Dr. Ralph Stewman.
Dr. Ralph Stewman.
I always thought that would be a great character.
For another life.
Another one of your favorite comedies, Canadian comedy.
Absolutely.
Is, let's show the clip. Or maybe, can you set up the clip? So this is Strange Brew.
But I don't know what the clip is, but with the clip I think we were talking about, I think was a highlight of...
They were just rolling around. I'm not quite sure why that...
It's like a highlight reel.
Oh, it's a highlight reel.
highlight
Okay, great.
reel. Yeah.
So, Strange Brew, Doug and Bob and Doug McKenzie, played by Rick Moranis and Dave Thomas. Dave Thomas's brother, by the way, Ian Thomas, had some great hits in the 70s. He was a musician.
Nice, so very cool.
And Rick Moranis, who kind of retreated from the spotlight after the passing of his wife and decided.
Yeah,
that
the
he
story I heard. Yeah, I mean, you see it on the internet all the time. It's like, you know, everyone's favorite dad. I think his wife passed, and he went back to Toronto, wherever he lived, and, you know, raised the kids and everything.
Yeah, and so he's like he's a family guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the Mackenzie brothers that they got their start on SCTV.
Sure.
Did Take Off with Geddy Lee, my absolute favorite. Oh my God!
Are we going to do a Rush? Are we going to have a Rush argument? We can argue about Rush all you want. How
Okay,
about
wait.
Oh,
I'm
please let
going
us
off
argue.
on a tangent here.
Okay.
I'm going off on a tangent, and I
Is it
want
Bob Dylan Rush? Are we going to have the Bob
yes,
Dylan Rush
exactly.
argument?
I want you guys to weigh in on this because
Weigh in on this.
Okay.
Weigh in on the. Okay.
Here's the thing. So Stu and I used to have arguments about lyricists when we were in high school, and Stu is a huge Bob Dylan fan. And you know, all the power to you, and all the power to Bob. But and I was a huge Rush fan and Neil Peart. I used to call him Pert,
sure.
and it should be Pert, but it's actually Peart. And I'm gonna admit something right here, right now. You were right. So we had an argument: who is a better lyricist? Is it Neil Peart, who wrote the lyrics for Rush, or is it Bob Dylan? And somehow I tried to convince Stu that Neil Peart is a better lyricist than Bob Dylan. And Peart is a great lyricist, but obviously, you know.
Exactly. Well, I'm glad you came around. You know, it's one of those things.
But I just want to know what you guys think. Like, you know, is Bob Dylan the greatest lyricist of all time?
Yeah.
And if not, who is better? Let us know in the chat.
Yeah, I'm sure. You know, Lennon and McCartney are up there. You know, but other than that, I don't think you're
I
gonna
don't know that their lyrics were.
As far as you know, considered great. You know,
I would put Leonard Cohen there. I've always thought that both Leonard Cohen and Bob Dylan are the two greatest poets who made songs. I never thought of them much as musicians. I always thought of them.
I just totally disagree with you on the Bob Dylan thing. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like Bob Dylan was, here's me and my guitar and harmonica, and here's 3 minutes of, you know, country song, folk song, blah, blah, blah.
I think it's just there's so many stanzas that...
No, but it's like, literally, it's been 50, 60 years of him just doing that, where it's like, I see what you're totally saying with Leonard Cohen. I mean, again, you can see, but, you know, Bob Dylan, I think, the great thing I love about him is he's been able to create this great aura about him as well. And again, he is, but, you know, at the same time, the perfect story I love that I heard recently is...
the fuck you to the Nobel Prize?
No. I mean, Axl Rose was telling a story about knocking on. Did you hear this story?
No.
All right, Axl Rose is telling a story about knocking on heaven's door, about meeting. Again, I don't know the whole. I don't know the whole. I didn't see it, but I overheard it. Basically, you know, to paraphrase, was that Axl Rose was saying that he ran into Bob Dylan, and Bob Dylan was like, "Oh, when are you going to record? You know, All Along the Watchtower." And you know, that was the song that. Yeah, knock knock on heaven's door.
Yeah.
He was like, when are you guys going to do knock on heaven's door? And you know, Axl, you know, I was like, oh wow, like Bob Dylan wants, you know, and he's like, I don't give a fuck, I just care about the money, you know. It's like that's all he, you know, that's it, you know. It's one of the just going back to, again, ultimately these guys are, you know, it's a business still for him and everything, and he's, you know, and again, and I think he's the greatest. There's no one above him and everything. But at the end of the day, he's a magician, he's a performer, and he does.
He's a magician,
a musician, and a performer. He is a magician, absolutely. He's all these things, you know. But at the end of the day, he's a guy who hustled and, you know, got where he did because he worked for it, you know. So absolutely, you know.
Comment from Iravana. I don't know enough Dylan, though I'm a huge Linda What's-Her-Name fan, lead singer of 3 Non-Blondes. I think it's 4 Non-Blondes, first of all. And
I don't think this Irvana is a real person.
Irvana is.
Or she's the only person. Irvana.
Iravana is a he.
Irvana Kurvana. We can talk about, yeah.
But 4 non-blondes, and when I used to work at a record store, I'll never forget when someone came in asking for 4 blonde nuns. But that Linda, what's her name, who's Linda Perry, she's written a fuck ton of songs for Pink, and she's a big time songwriter.
No, absolutely.
How did we get to Dylan? What were we talking about before we went off track there? Anybody? Shit. Strange Brew.
Strange Brew.
Strange Brew. So,
have we got the clip up yet? Have we shown?
Well, okay, we're about to show the clip. So Bob and Doug Mackenzie, great musician. Sorry, great comedians.
They're great musicians.
Let's just roll the clip.
And what do? We just sit there and
we just sit and watch.
Oh, we're watching it on TV. Oh, look at that. Should we pretend to laugh at the clip?
It'll come on soon.
Is it actually going to play on here?
Yeah.
Oh, good. So we can laugh at the clip.
We can actually put picture in picture.
did not say they were lawyers. You said they were lawyers. Take off, eh? Get off! It's going pretty good. Are you losing track of you? Geez, now that hose is growling. Oh, you farted. Oh, take off, you hoser. So you're looking at me? Yeah, because she thought you're some kind of freak.
So here we are. Oh, what's the name of that? Rosie, right? Exactly.
After Guy Lafleur.
Max von Sydow, right? Yeah. Okay. So now people can see us as we're watching the scene from the movie and commenting on it. So anything that you want to say about any of these
Yeah,
scenes?
well, I mean, I guess I didn't realize. I mean, it's one of those things. There's not a specific scene, so it's 3 seconds of But I'll show you.
I forgot. Rick Moranis played Dark Helmet. didn't he?
Absolutely,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, so my favorite part of it, as juvenile as I am, was when he's in the giant vat of beer.
Do you remember the first movie you ever saw?
I do. Actually, here's the thing. It's very interesting. I don't know if it's 100% true or not, but I stand by it, is that I remember when I was 2 years old, my babysitter at the time taking me to see Star Wars. To the point that I remember being so terrified of Star Wars that when
Thriller came out.
No, but when Empire Strikes came back, when the second one, Empire Strikes Back came out, I didn't want to watch it. I was like, I didn't see it. And then by the time I was, Return of the Jedi, then it was like everyone has to watch, So I actually did not see.
You never saw?
I've seen it, but I did not see it, in proper order. I have to admit.
The first movie that I remember seeing, and I bring it up because you brought up them being in the vat of beer, was, strangely enough, it was a French movie called Rabbi Jacob, Rabbi Jacob, and it was like a slapstick comedy from France about a rabbi, and I just remember him getting stuck in a giant gumball machine, and I must have been maybe 2 or 3 years old as well. It was obviously different than
I didn't see that one. I mean, it's a shame that we didn't find. I should have found a clip that would have been like, here's a funny scene as opposed to 3 seconds.
Yeah, because if you haven't seen Strange Brew, it's a
exactly. So this we might not have gotten the best clips along to go.
What do you make, by the way, this being, this is Canadian comedy, and Canada is known for comedy, but so the Emmys just were announced, and Schitt's Creek. Are you familiar with Schitt's Creek?
Yeah, I've seen a few episodes.
So Canadian show, CBC show, which is, you generally, Irvana says, oh my God, as I agree with Stu, best part is him drinking all the beer and then putting out the fire by peeing. So now you guys are friends again.
Now I like you, Irvana. We're back. So Irvana, we got to know, where are you from?
We do know that, right? Irvana is Vermont.
Vermont, oh cool. All right,
Yeah.
nice. All right, so Irvana Curvana.
What's the Curvana?
He'll look it up.
Okay, Irvana Curvana.
There you go.
Shit. Now I'm knocked off
All right,
track.
so
again.
Strange Brew we were talking about, and then
Schitt's Creek, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So that's another. Okay, I remember because it's Eugene Levy and Catherine O'Hara, and I think she's. Are they both nominated? The show is nominated. I think Catherine O'Hara is nominated as well.
I think the son is.
Yeah, because it's all him.
Yeah,
it's his idea. We actually had Tim Rose on the show recently, who's on that show as well, and I'm really proud of them. I've actually watched it. It's a fucking funny show, and I think for me it had that CBC stigma, whereas anything that's on CBC I always feel is going to be like Anne of Green Gables.
Yeah.
And then I was like, whoa! It's Irvana says, Eric, I blame you for my Winona Earp addiction. Yes, that was Tim Rose who's on that show as well. You know what? I forget what I was going to say.
Who's Winona Earp?
Winona Earp is a TV show that people are crazy into.
Okay. I for a second I thought he was a musician. I was
No, exactly. So Tim Rose who's also a huge Willie Nelson fan. But Schitt's Creek, you knew by the name. I was like, wow, the CBC's really getting edgy here. It's a really funny show, and two of those cast members are from the whole Christopher Guest world.
Sure.
And I remember you were a huge fan of Waiting for Guffman too.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I mean, going back to a little bit of the Canadian comedy and everything, it's one of those things where, for me, when I was a kid, we all grew up with SNL. You and I were huge David Letterman fans, obviously, but I was the one who, I remember, I'd missed school that day or something. I saw the kids in the hall being interviewed by Ralph Benmergui
Oh my God.
in a bowling alley at
Yeah.
like 2:00 in the afternoon. And I remember just being like, oh wow, why are they doing an interview in a bowling? Like to me that was hysterical. Like, I got that. So I was like, I want to see what this thing is, and it just, we got 4 channels back then, and whatever the other 2 channels, there wasn't anything exciting on. I remember just watching it, and then the next day going to school, and literally all day long, just I'm crushing your head, Mr. Cabbage Head, like the chicken leg. I couldn't, 30 Helens agree and everything. So to me, it's weird because we didn't really grow up with SCTV. I mean, everyone always talks about it, but I was like, we didn't really we didn't get that. We had CBC, so I never really got, when I was a kid at least, I never watched, SCTV. Like I said, I knew Bob and Doug McKenzie more from Strange Brew than everything else, but it was like, when I saw, actually the first 2 guys I remember was obviously Wayne and Schuster.
Oh my God, yeah.
Saturday we would watch Wayne and Schuster, and then we'd watch Hockey Night in Canada.
Do you remember Snow Job? Snow Job. It was with the Adams, the guy who was in Get Smart, the TV show.
Yeah, the grocery store.
Yeah. It was called Snow Job.
Was it a grocery store?
No, I think it was a ski
I
resort.
know, 'cause he did one. Don Adams did one at a grocery store.
Yeah, there was that. That's true, yeah.
Talking about obscure Canadian shit. All right, also really obscure. 4 on the Floor. I don't know if you remember 4 on the Floor.
Sure, that wasn't that
Mr.
Canoe Head?
Head. Mr.
Yeah.
Canoe, exactly. So those were the things. And then, like I said, when I saw Kids in the Hall, that just, that opened my eyes to the world of comedy. I didn't remember.
Really, eh?
Yeah, that was really a big impact on me.
Do you know what I
watching
was
those guys.
thinking of doing on, would be a fun thing, I don't know if you'd really call it a meme, but something I'd like to start on Facebook is, these are the Daves I know, and then just list and tag all the Daves in my friend list. Kids in the Hall.
Actually, why even do just say these are the memes I'm going to come up with, and then don't actually do it. It's even more.
Right, exactly.
These are the memes I'm going to do.
That's very meta. Hey, should we do some trivia?
Absolutely, go for it. You said movie quotes, I think.
Yeah. Do you prefer movie clips or
Quotes,
taglines?
Quotes, yeah. Or you said tags.
Yeah,
or
exactly.
Quotes.
Sorry, quotes. Right.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty good with the quotes.
Okay. Let's see here. I will open this up, and you can decide by decade.
Okay, well, let's start with 1980s.
1980s. All right. I'm going to go with some quotes here.
Okay. And I mean, are these are popular enough movies that I'm not,
Okay. The first one that pops up.
yeah.
Surely you can't be serious. I am, and don't call me Shirley.
Of course, we know that one is the name.
That's actually the clip that you chose.
That was the clip, and one of the reasons I clipped that one, I chose that clip was my grandmother's name was Shirley. So to me, that was an extra special joke.
Actually, what I love here is that there's a bunch of airplane quotes. Bad news, the fog is getting thicker, and Leon is getting larger.
Absolutely. All right, go, let's take some photos. And they run in, they take the photos off. I know them all.
Let's see. You ever been into a cockpit before? No, sir.
a
I've never been
cockpit?
up in a plane before. You ever seen a grown man naked? And we'll give him another 20 minutes, but that's it. Okay, let's find something else.
Are these ones that you're just pulling off the thing?
Yeah,
now?
it's literally the first things that came up. Okay.
So you didn't come up with pre-planned quotes?
No,
You're
not
just
at
like,
all.
Oh, nice.
No. Okay. Interesting. How about this? The quote is, I'll give you what everybody knows to be a quote, but it's not the actual quote.
Okay.
Luke, I am your father. There's one word that's actually not in that quote.
Like I said, remember I said,
well, that's
I
right.
hadn't seen him, but it's Luke,
It's no, I am your father.
Oh, okay, there you go. You know
Okay, these are really easy, actually. Okay, I feel.
You were the one who came.
Okay, I feel the need.
The need for speed. I mean, you got to do something.
Okay, by the way, we're going to get to the Top Gun 2 trailer. Anybody see the Top Gun 2 trailer? Let us know in the chat because we're going to watch it and give our comments. All right, you want hard? All right.
Yeah.
Okay. My thoughts drift back to erect nipple wet dreams about Mary Jane Rotten Crotch and the great homecoming fuck fantasy. I'm so happy that I'm alive in one piece and short. I'm in a world of shit, yes, but I'm alive and I'm not afraid.
And this is an 80s movie?
1987. I'll even tell you who directed it.
Give me.
It's a Kubrick film.
Full Metal Jacket.
There you go. All right. Okay, I got another one. Good morning, Vietnam. Okay.
Serpico.
Right. Okay. Smack, smack, snap out of it.
Snack out of it is
Share.
Moonstruck.
There you go.
There you go.
All right. Oh, you're doing pretty good. Okay. We'd have more luck playing pickup sticks with our butt cheeks than we will getting a flight out of here before daybreak.
Another one of the greatest Canadians of all time, Mr. John Candy,
Yep.
Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. The actual best line from that, my favorite movie, my favorite scene in that movie is when they're stuck at one of the depots and he has to start selling, John Candy has to start selling the shower rings, and he starts selling them as earrings to all these different people. My favorite line is, "That's real Czechoslovakian ivory." It's like,
You know, I had the fortune to interview his family about both Dan Aykroyd and John Candy's family. There was it was something in Toronto, and they were honoring the memory of John Candy, and just hearing them all talk, like people who knew him personally, talk about him, because we all loved him. I think the way we all loved Chris Farley and John Belushi. I mean, the three of them had that energy. That
I don't know, because Farley and Belushi were wild, crazy party animals.
That's
gone.
true. Candy was okay. That's
totally
true.
different, fly by feet.
All right.
But
Moving on.
They're all gone, sadly.
What the hell kind of cop are you? You know what I am?
RoboCop?
Huh?
RoboCop?
No, and I just realized there's words in here that I can't say. So, here, no. Okay. What the hell kind of cop are you? You know what I am? I'm your worst fucking nightmare, man.
I'm with a badge.
I'm an N-word with a badge. That means I've got permission to kick your fucking ass whenever I feel like
Of course, that's Axel Foley.
Nope.
No, it's not.
Right actor.
But I did
It's the right actor.
another 48 hours. 48 hours.
Just 48 hours. Yeah, exactly.
48 hours,
Well, you know what? Quotes is better than taglines. This is great. Okay. You want hard or easy?
Hard.
Hard. Okay. You're hit. You're bleeding, man. I ain't got time to bleed.
It's a little.
1987. Got remade last year. Was pretty cool with the CGI. Not CGI, but was very cool in terms of.
Ghostbusters?
No. 87 had a huge action star, like a huge action star. In fact,
Total Recall?
That's the right star.
Arnold Schwarzenegger. Oh,
Yeah.
The Predator?
There you go.
Okay, there
nice. Okay. Oh, no, I can't even do that. Inconceivable, of course.
Everybody knows The Princess Bride.
The greatest movie of all time.
Absolutely.
Let's see. Don't grieve, Admiral. It is logical. The needs of
That's
the many.
Spock, we know.
Yeah, but which movie?
Who cares? Star Trek. I hate to say. No, I shouldn't.
Yeah,
I shouldn't.
not around here.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm much more of a Star Wars guy, but I'm not. But it's,
The royal penis is clean, Your Highness.
all right, Coming to America.
God, the 80s were amazing.
They were.
I'm just looking
And
at
they're
this.
remaking Coming to America as well right now.
I know. What do you think about that?
Well, I don't know. I mean, again, to me, him and like trading space, trading places, 48 Hours, Beverly Hills Cop. I mean, to me, it's interesting because like we talk about Michael Jackson. Growing up in the 80s, to me, Michael Jackson and Eddie Murphy were equivalent. Like, obviously, Michael Jackson always still kind of, where, like I said, to me, so I'll always, have that reverence for Eddie Murphy,
Do you
the way
remember-
people like Dave Chappelle, so it's a generational thing,
Right.
It's like people before me always like, Richard Pryor.
Richard Pryor,
Everyone
yeah.
talks about Richard Pryor. It's like, I grew up with Richard Pryor, Brewster's Millions, and
Right.
so that's my Richard Pryor, the toy, so it's a different Richard Pryor,
Or, yeah. Well, I was going to say, what's his name?
And then Dave Chappelle, obviously, again, like Chappelle does that great bit, like he does this great thing, and he's like, I forget how he does it, but he's like, Dave Chappelle in 1990, 2000 Chappelle, he's like, and like the last one's like, fuck Nick Cannon, he's like, I forget it, but it's one of these things where it's like.
But what did you think a couple of years ago when there was that SNL anniversary and they brought
Norm
back Eddie
Macdonald.
Murphy?
Yeah.
But there was like a weird
That was
malaise.
No, I don't know. It's one of those things where they didn't bring him back. He didn't do the SNL thing. He did his own. They did a special tribute for him. They did a special tribute.
But he wasn't he there? And it was uncomfortable and weird.
I think we're getting our things confused. I think there was the huge SNL special, which he didn't come back to.
Yeah.
And then I think ABC or one of those networks might have done a salute to Eddie Murphy.
Guess what? We have the internet.
Exactly. Hey, buddy, earn your $5.
No, I'm going to do it. This is
What's he doing? He's sleeping back there.
No,
he's not even
switching.
in the room anymore.
Oh, sorry, Julian. All right, hold on. Eddie Murphy.
Julian, you've got a sense of, oh, they just saw me scratching my nuts on TV. Sorry, America.
In pants, that's right. Okay, Eddie Murphy SNL anniversary. Yeah.
Did you say enhance my pants?
Yeah.
So there was another. You know what? I
He
don't.
was there, and it was.
But there was another.
Oh,
Wasn't
look!
there the one with?
Look at the first thing that pops up. Eddie Murphy explains his awkward SNL 40 appearance from
Look at
GQ
that.
magazine.
Absolutely. You know what? So again, I guess I'm like, as I said, I remember there being like a special Eddie tribute,
Yeah.
and I kind of remember for that SNL thing, I thought it was like Norm Macdonald was the big story. Who he came like Norm Macdonald, you know. So I thought there was something there. So I don't remember, you know.
But does Eddie Murphy? Is he? He's
I think
not
they
making
said he's
any.
trying to
kind
do stand-up again.
Really?
Yeah, I think I heard that recently. He
My
could have made a bunch of movies.
my favorite Eddie Murphy on Saturday Night Live was not when he didn't. It's not while he was a cast member. He came back as a guest, and there was a Gumby sketch. There was James Brown going to get in the hot tub, and there was this amazing sketch where he went whiteface, where they fully painted him white.
I remember that, and they on the bus.
On the bus, yeah.
It just takes his money.
God, if ever you have a chance to watch Eddie Murphy in whiteface, that is. But I mean, if you think about it, even his movies, he did roles where he was in whiteface.
What?
He did.
I guess.
Yeah.
I think in
In one of those
movies.
No. I mean, in one of those movies where he played like 12 characters.
Oh yeah. Sure, of course. In Coming to America, you played one of the old Jewish guys.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, exactly.
Aha.
But you know what was a great?
Aha.
I loved Golden Child.
Where is the spoon?
That's right.
Aha.
The Barbers in Coming to America. That's right. I really liked the movie. What was the?
Bowfinger.
Bowfinger, yeah.
Bowfinger's great. It's one of the things that's like somehow that just came, like, you know, I think both of those guys, Steve and Eddie, at that point in their careers, it's kind of like, well, they had wrapped it up, but it was like, I think their biggest hits were in the 80s, and they just came out with that. And I mean, that's such a brilliant, I love that movie.
Yeah, me too.
Such a great movie.
So what are some new movies that you like?
New movies. Are we talking about
I mean, in the last 5 years kind of thing.
in the last 5 years?
It doesn't have to be comedy.
You know what? What did I love? Can You Ever Forgive Me? My favorite movie last year. I was really upset that Melissa McCarthy and
I didn't see it.
she was nominated for an Oscar.
I know, but I didn't see that movie. Can You Ever Forgive Me?
Yeah, she plays the writer Lee Israel.
The who?
Eric, you're in movies. You should know this movie.
That's
Can
not
You
what
Ever
you're supposed to
Forgive-
say. Yeah.
Eric, you
which
have
one?
to know. Can you ever Google it? Please.
Okay. Why am I-
Melissa McCarthy. It's based on Lee Israel. Her story.
Oh, Lee Israel. Sorry, I understood Liz Israel.
Okay.
Can you ever forgive me? Oh, right. Okay, yeah.
Now you know
Yeah,
what
yeah,
I'm talking
yeah.
about.
Okay.
There you go. That one.
So that was your favorite movie from
2008. Yeah.
Okay.
So as far as recent films go, that one. Get Out. I absolutely love.
I was wondering about that, yeah.
And it was funny. So here's the thing with Get Out. I didn't see it right away, and I heard a little bit enough about it. And then when you see the trailer, you kind of know there's a twist, So
Yeah.
as a huge movie fan, watching the film and that first opening scene, listening to the girl, I don't want to sound like I'm some, but listening to the girl, everything she says, you're like, oh, well, if she was lying, that's the exact same thing she would be lying. So like right away, I'm like, oh, she's clear. Like if the parents are crazy, there's something with this girl as well and everything.
So you knew right away?
So it was, and it was still such an amazing. I didn't get the thing with the I had no idea about the grandparents and that stuff, but I was like clearly like the woman. And again, going in, you knew that with the parent, you knew the motive behind the parents and everything. So it wasn't like it was this great revelation. And I'm sure had I seen it opening weekend or something, I'm sure I wouldn't have got it. But I think I'd heard a little bit where I was like, you know what, I was suspicious of her going in, because that's the great thing about these movies is trying to figure out the answer and everything.
Did you see Us?
Yeah, and Us, I enjoyed. This is my take on Us. I enjoyed it. I don't know. I didn't enjoy it obviously as much as the first one.
As Get Out.
As Get Out, because Get Out I absolutely loved. Is again going back to those, those quick things and everything, one of my favorite movies we were talking about, or not one of my favorite movies, but Woody Allen movie, Stardust Memories. So I don't know if you've seen Stardust Memories. Have you ever seen that? So black and white film. It's him as an artist and everything, and he's going to a movie festival. And there's a scene, and again, I only learned this years later by like reading the commentary explaining, what it was. But ultimately, there's a scene with a dead rat. Like he talks to his cook, and there's a dead rabbit in the film, and then you see the eye of the dead rabbit, and then everything after that is supposed to be this surreal Fellini-esque type film. So it's as soon as you see the dead rabbit, everything changes. So for me, when I was watching the film, like you see that opening scene where in the horror, the mirror thing,
yeah.
And then the opening thing is here are the rabbits again, but they're all these live rabbits. So that's what I was thinking is like, oh, here's the switch. I didn't really know what the switch was, but I knew, I knew something had changed by seeing those. So that was my interpretation. I don't know if I've ever heard anyone else talk about, and because they always talk about the movies that have influenced his movies, and that was just one that I was like, that was the thing that I thought about right away when I was watching the film. And then it's funny, we were talking about these two movies and everything. Another movie that I absolutely love that really had my image, if you want to talk about, Get Out, is Tyrell. I don't know if you saw Tyrell.
I did not see Tyrell.
Tyrell is a great film. It's by the guy who did. There's that Michael Cera Cactus, the where he goes on the drug trip.
Oh, right, yeah.
I forget. I think it's like a Brazilian director or something. Michael Cera is in this as well, and it's a great story where. The less you know about the film, the better. So I don't want to give anything away. But again, it's kind of like everyone talks about Get Out, and I think for us, being white guys, it's like Get Out gives you the perspective of what it's like for a black person in a white community. Go see Tyrell, and it's just as intense for a totally different reason. And as much as everyone loved Get Out, and from what they got from that, I actually found I really got to experience, like I really felt like I know what this guy, as much as I could, just like his day-to-day life in this movie, and it's great, and just nobody has seen this movie.
Okay.
But yeah, definitely I can recommend, another movie, absolutely. Definitely take a look at Tyrell as well.
So I saw a movie I can't stop talking about recently called Midsummer.
Oh, sure, yeah. It's one of those, I'm not a huge horror guy, so Hereditary, I didn't see Hereditary, and it's one of those things.
It's the same director, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it's the same director, so I haven't seen it yet. I heard it's intense.
So, you know what? What's really interesting about this movie, and it's that, they take a lot of mushrooms,
sure.
Okay? They're like drinking mushroom tea.
Sure.
And so at first, when they do that, the background is that kind of breathing feeling. And so you know that you're tripping along with them. But then what I realized is that as you go through the rest of the movie, that's happening, but so subtly that you're kind
sure.
of just brought along on the trip. I can't recommend that movie enough. It's a fantastic movie. I saw it around the same time. There's so many blockbusters.
Sure.
And
I absolutely loved Avengers. That was, totally blown away by that film. So it's not like I'm just like, oh, these art houses or whatever. So. I've seen a lot of those movies, and it's just...
Actually, I really like that Jesse Eisenberg movie that we interviewed him for.
Yeah, I really am dying to see that, the Art of Self-Defense.
Yeah.
Yeah, that looks like a great film. I'm a huge fan. The Squid and the Whale, talking about absolutely some of my favorite films, The Squid and the Whale, that was one of those guys, it's like every once in a while you see a film by that director for the first time, and it's like, I remember the first time I saw Reservoir Dogs and walking out of the movie after thinking that, and then, the first time I saw... not Rush, Bottle Rocket, and seeing that first, and that was like, wow,
Didn't we watch Reservoir Dogs together?
I don't know.
In my parents' room.
No, I saw it in the theater. I remember seeing it in the theaters with Joel. Me and Joel.
No, it's true. You told me about it. Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
yeah.
No, I saw that
what's your take
Cinema
on...
de Park.
Yeah. Squid and the Whale, says Jazzy J. And Stu had wanted to say something about Eric's shirt.
Oh, look
That's
at
right.
that. Wow.
All right, thanks.
How are we doing on time? What time is it now?
Oh, it's 10:15. We have about 15 minutes.
Oh, nice. Well, so you're right. This has been going pretty smoothly. Yeah. See, we've been getting along. We were worried.
We had some huge arguments before we went on.
Exactly, but we're not even getting nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Okay, so Pickle Rick.
Pickle Rick. So.
Let me just explain. I don't have too many cool T-shirts. I even said this last time, but when we were at Comic-Con, I decided to buy a cool T-shirt, and I think Rick and Morty is the greatest show on television. I don't think any show has come close to making me think the way that show makes me think. I've heard all kinds of things about, not Justin, but about...
Dan Harmon?
Yeah. He's an iconoclast to the bone. But I absolutely love it. In fact, we're going to see a trailer for season 4 of Rick and Morty soon. So that's your cue to cue it up. But in the meantime, you have some interesting news.
Yeah, so very exciting. Talking about Comic-Con and going back to everything, my client Mary Mack is going to be one of the stars of his new show, Solar Opposites. Or Justin Roiland and Mike McEwen are the guys who created Rick and Morty as well, or co-created and created the new show Solar Opposites. And my client Mary Mack is going to be one of the leads, Jesse, one of the aliens, which is very exciin.
Is it an animated show?
Yeah, it's an animated show as well. It's going to be on Hulu at the end of the year, beginning of 2020. Yeah, so it's really exciting for us. This is a comic I've worked with for a long time. Really, really funny, talented comic. And
what's the premise?
The premise is they're a family of 4 aliens, and they crash land on Earth. And 2 of them are of the opinion that this is the greatest, they love Earth, and 2 of them are, this is the worst place, we got to get out of there. So I think the show, the dynamics is going to be 2 of them want to leave and 2 of them want to stay, and how that family dynamic works.
Solar Opposites.
Solar Opposites, yeah.
Have you seen any of it?
No, so literally they just did their big announcement. They were at Comic-Con in July in San Diego.
Oh,
literally
nice.
on Saturday or Friday they did their big premiere. It's really, they don't. I don't think I think they showed an animated clip there, but there's nothing online right now. But if you pick up a clip, you can see a photo of the characters.
Okay, so I want to see if is it a similar animation style?
Exactly. There you go.
Oh, okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
So does that mean that is Justin one of the animators originally?
I think he was a writer creator. I don't know.
Okay.
He might be an animator. I'm not.
He does a lot of the voices too, right?
Yeah, he's one of the main voices on the show as well.
Oh, this one too. That's so crazy.
Yeah.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, no, it's very exciting. He has a new video game, Trover Saves the Universe, and she's one of the characters in that as well.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. So what's her shtick?
She's just a great stand-up comic from Minnesota. Again, this is my joke. I don't know if I've heard anyone else say this before. We talked about the Coen brothers. We talked about Bob Dylan, all from Minnesota, and it's always been,
And Prince?
Prince, another guy. My thing is, so many great, so many great comics that I've asked about. Mitch Hedberg was from Minnesota, Nick Swartzen, Maria Bamford, Mary, all these great comics from Minnesota. Chad Daniels, another guy I absolutely love. And for me, it was like, the joke that there must be something in the water. And it's like, well, they are drinking the water out of Lake Superior.
That's why he's in comedy.
That's the best I can do. But still, I was like, I haven't, so I'm laying claim to that joke. So.
Okay, now speaking of funny, what's your take on Rick and Morty?
It's one of those things, unfortunately, I haven't seen, I wish I had time to watch TV the way I used to and everything and just enjoy things, and I don't. So it's kind of like if there's, incentive for me to watch something, I'm much more aligned to watch something like that. But, I think being in comedy so much is that for me, watching a sitcom is a lot harder than the average person, because it's like I'd much rather watch an action.
But would you even consider it a sitcom? I mean, it's science
an animated
fiction.
Sitcom.
Yeah, it is action. It's science fiction.
Again, I haven't really watched the show, but I'm saying it a half-hour animated sitcom.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah,
it is technically an animated sitcom, so yes, I will call it an animated sitcom.
Why don't we see a trailer from season 4, the upcoming season of Rick and Morty? I'm very excited.
Oh, nice.
Can we turn it up?
Be a while till season 4, Yeah, 4 months. Yeah, well, good thing we have this game to play, huh, Rick?
I don't know what's going on. I've just been waiting for the zoo to, so I can get my brother out.
What is this garbage? It's bullshit. It's a video game. It's called Trover Saves the Universe, Rick. It's bullshit, Morty. I don't like it. But look at this part, though. Look at this funny part, Rick.
We locked this place up tighter than a drum. You're not gonna get into this place. The key is melting inside of me. I swallowed it. Melting inside my body. Why would you eat the key? That's the only key we have. You're all dumb. We're not dumb.
Dumb. It's bullshit, capiche? Man, Rick, you're always shitting on everything I like. You're an asshole. All right, relax, Morty. Relax. Take it easy.
Guys. All right, partner, let's get inside this place and get these
crystal babies.
Jesus Christ, why does everyone in this game sound like you or me? Oh, Rick, you're a real spoil sport, you know? This is a fun game, Rick. You just like it because everyone sounds like you in the game. Did you even ask Dan Harmon if you could do this clip? No? Oh my God, Morty, did you ask Adult Swim if you could do this clip? No, I didn't. I'm out. Turn it off. Using us to shill this garbage. You should be ashamed of yourself.
What I love about that show.
So we're on.
We're on now, yeah. So
Okay.
yeah.
I wasn't sure. I was like, you just started talking again.
What I love about that show is how it makes me feel weird. Like
Sure.
it's not just like, that last, I love all the different references to the video
Sure.
games and all that stuff, but it was in the end when things get, like, I love when that show gets dark. When they played, there's one episode where they play Hurt, the Johnny Cash version of it. And it's like, there's so much existential angst in this movie. And it's not like, it's couched in this, complainy kid and this drunk grandfather, but there's like real human emotion in a cartoon. I'm so excited for season 4 of this show.
No, I mean, I was a huge fan. I mean, Back to the Future was absolutely one of the most iconic films for us growing up as well. So, I mean, I'll give it a chance, definitely more, absolutely, but it's definitely, and again, I mean, I've heard nothing but, the greatest things about the show as well. But like I said, for me, it's like if I can, if I have time to watch something, like I said, I'd rather watch like an action thing, so.
See, I think that's my case with Game of Thrones.
Sure.
But can you cue up the
Game of Thrones that
you
you weren't a fan of, you were a fan?
No, it is one of those shows that I just don't. The investment is just too much.
Sure,
for me, Rick and Morty is fine because you can watch them in. I just like self-contained shows that once you have to, you can't just start on episode 13 because then you're totally lost. So Game of Thrones, I'm still stuck on season 2. I've said it a million times. Beanduck says, I have no idea what I just saw. Uravana says, I agree. Yeah, and that's the beauty of Rick and Morty, I think. Speaking of iconic movies from the 80s, are you queued up for that one?
Yep.
Okay, so this week there was a fuck ton of new trailers that came out. 2 new Terminator movies have been announced. It 2 has a new trailer. A bunch of different things, but one of them that came out that everyone was talking about was Top Gun 2. I was like, do they really need to make another? Because I hate Tom Cruise. I've said it many times on the show. And then I watched the trailer and I was like, I'm curious. Have you seen the trailer?
I have seen the trailer. You want to hear one secret confession?
What's that?
I have not seen
The first one?
The first one. It's one of those. It's one of the. I've watched parts of it. I've seen parts of it, but it's one like I just like I'll try watching it. It's one of the. And I've never. That's the one. Literally like the one film.
That's my Rain Man.
That really you've never seen. Like I said, that's my thing. I'm like really even if I can see Top. And it's one of. And I've seen enough. I've seen enough of the iconic clips. I know who Goose. And all that stuff and Maverick and all that. And it was funny, and I was just watching. I just watched Mission Impossible last night, the newest one. I mean, that was absolutely one of the balls to the wall greatest action films I've seen. I just absolutely love that.
Really, eh?
Yeah, you didn't like that one?
I thought it was okay. I hate Tom Cruise, so
Fair enough. It's not for everybody.
Apparently, he did an appearance though as his character in Tropic Thunder
Oh,
on
nice.
something recently.
Oh,
And
very cool.
I've always maintained that I love him when he's that guy or the guy in Magnolia. Like
Sure,
when he is a self-aware prick. We have 5 minutes. Let's watch.
Oh, just real quick, one more thing. We're talking about great movies as well. We were
Yeah.
talking. If you haven't seen it, if you want to see one of the greatest action films of all time, The Raid and The Raid 2.
Oh, yeah.
Have you seen those?
Yeah.
I mean, absolutely. If you've never seen those films before, those are just two films that, like especially the first one, just changed my perspective of what an action film could be and everything.
Well, the first guest we had on our show, and by the way, this is show 20. This is our 20th episode, so I think we should celebrate.
Hopefully, there's going to be more after.
Yeah, I don't know. Cancel the show.
Who's going to cancel you? Who's putting this on?
Julian.
Okay,
Yeah.
nice. Julian, don't cancel. This is awesome. People want to watch me.
The first guest that we had was a stuntman. And a stunt coordinator.
Oh, nice.
So it's really interesting to, we were looking at clips from Avengers and he was really breaking down how they did that kind of stuff. Should we even watch it? Yeah, let's watch the Top Gun 2 trailer. We'll do it picture in picture if we can, so we can actually comment on it. All right, let's do it up. All right, Maverick.
So you did see the first Top Gun?
I did see it.
You hate Tom Cruise, and
I hated Tom Cruise in later years. Like, I didn't hate him back then.
And
but
I enjoy Tom Cruise, and I haven't seen Top Gun, so it's very interesting.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's ask Hallie Frank what that means.
So what I do find interesting, so originally this was Tony Scott. The first one was directed by Tony Scott, one of my favorite directors. And so, it was a great action movie. I don't even know who the director of this particular one is, but what I find interesting is that now they're playing on the fact that he's old. It's not like, give me one more shot to have glory. Like, well, that guy looks fucking ancient, but...
Ed Harris?
Is that Ed Harris?
That's Ed Harris.
Oh my God, he's really...
He does look old.
But even Tom Cruise here, he like...
Well, it is 35 years later, Eric.
Yeah, I know, but I don't think they're...
It's going to be a central part of the story.
But then things get weird here because, well, first of all, I love these kind of GoPro-y shots, the perspective of the cockpit. But then here there's a whole montage of things that are either from the first movie or, like, isn't that from the first one?
I think they're callbacks to the first movie, but again, I haven't seen the first movie. So it's hard.
You've seen enough to know.
I remember
now he's in a spacesuit?
The aviator, sunglasses.
Wait, but that was the original. So
No, I think that was a different one. He had a football. The other one was a volleyball. Again, I didn't see the movie, but I am aware of pop culture.
But what I do love, and I have to admit looks pretty cool, are some of these shots.
Oh, absolutely. Actually, real quickly, we were talking about this. I mean, there was like this article on IO9. I don't know if you guys get that here.
Yep.
And they were just talking.
It's international.
There you go. I don't know. io9.ca or something here. Something. But they were talking about like the helmets. Like if you see the real fighter helmets now, it's like black and like you can't giant. It's like that big. It's a black mask. You can't see anything. But it's like who wants to cover up that moneymaker? Am I right?
Am I right? It's almost time to wrap it up. Let's do one more quote.
All right.
One more little quizzy quote. And if anybody has any comments about that Top Gun 2 trailer, are you going to see it? Are you into it? What are your thoughts? And I'm going to try and... Ooh.
Is this still the 80s or
This is 1988.
Okay.
Urbana says, it's hard to tell which is new footage and which is old footage. That's exactly what I'm thinking. But maybe you're right, Stu. Maybe they intentionally doing callbacks that are so close to the original that it's, that's the idea here.
I hope so.
Yeah, okay, so.
It's over. Nobody cares anymore.
Right. Can you lean back, said Julian. Okay. We are the weaker sex. Men don't live as long as women. We get more heart attacks, more strokes, more prostate trouble. I say it's time for a change. I say let them give us money. Let's live off them for a while. That probably shocks a guy like you, right? Well, it's rather a revolutionary thought. And I think I just gave away the plot right there, too.
Mr. Mom?
1988, featuring, I'm trying to remember, Michael Caine. And
Dirty Rotten Scoundrel.
Yes.
Another brilliant movie, which is a remake of it. It's a remake of something that they just remade with Anne Hathaway and Rebel Wilson.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, and it's the opposite.
Trust. Yeah.
Okay,
exactly.
gotcha. Okay, fine. I'm going steady, and I French kiss. So everybody does that? Yeah, but Dad says I'm the best at it.
Oh, National Lampoon.
There you
Come
go.
on, that's a
The 80s were a great time for movie quotes.
pleasure, buddy. Thank you very
absolutely.
much. We made it through
Wait,
in one piece.
This is your chance. Hold on. First of all, Bean Duck says Tom Cruise has barely aged. Jazzy J says because he sleeps in a cryo freezer every night.
Don't you?
Yeah, of course. Pickle Rick. Where can people find? Do you want to plug anything? This is your chance.
Yeah, check out kmartalent.com. You can check out the roster if you're looking for any comedians you want to book for any events. Let me know.
Are you still doing your podcast?
No, you know what? After the show, so going back to the show real quick, I was telling you I have nothing to I have nothing to plug because the show that I was on, which we thought was going to be this exciting big venture, apparently not too many people watched it, which is why I'm here.
But listen, you made friends with
Rikishi, absolutely. Shinzo Machida is another guy, who I became friendly with on the show. Stuart McLeod, a very talented magician, comedian as well.
Keisha Shante.
Absolutely, yeah.
she was
She was my podmate.
Yeah.
Look at that. You watched the show. You're the only one. Thank you. My parents didn't even watch it, but Eric, I appreciate you.
I was watching because it premiered after the Super Bowl.
Exactly.
I'm watching it, and then all of a sudden, there's your big face. But you were on the entire season. You were on for how long?
Maybe 4 or 5 seconds. But they would scan, literally, like they would scan. And what I think they did eventually is they just surrounded me with all these beautiful people, and you would see them start panning across. And as soon as they got to the person right next to me, they would stop panning. So it's like they put me right in the middle. So the camera.
There were some gorgeous. There was like Miss.
Columbia, yeah. I mean, they're good-looking guys as well. I mean, let's not just single out the women.
That's true.
There's a lot of good-looking people on the show, and me. So.
And you. Right. So on that note, high five.
High five. That wasn't a high five.
That wasn't a high five.
There we go.
Up
There we go.
All
Up
right.
top. All right.
Thank you guys all for tuning in. Thank you, Julian, for
was I funnier
switching.
than Jesse Eisenberg at least?
Well, you were just as neurotic.
You got a few more laughs. Come on.
Actually, he was
good?
very funny.
I bet he is.
He was very
He's
funny.
Jesse Eisenberg.
You should watch the interview. It's on,
I will.
It's
I
on
will.
the
I will.
interwebs.
I can't wait to watch the movie too. I'm a huge fan.
It's very good. Okay, so what's on tomorrow, Cosplay Cave? A bunch of people dressing up and knitting and designing their clothes. Stu's going to be on. He's going to be here sporting his latest cosplay stuff.
Absolutely.
So
I
tune
come
in.
dressed as Pickle Rick. Is what I'm
Pickle Rick. And next week we got another great guest. So tune in. We'll see you guys
Who's
soon.
next week?
Erica Deutschman,
Erica.
great actress.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Bye, everybody.
Thank you very much. A pleasure. We're off.